Guys, I am so sorry for stealing the wage doll from Wasabi's toy world. I promise I won't do this again. Please, give me another chance, and please bail me out of here. I'm begging you.
Absolutely not. Kenward, Beaufort, Perkins. What the actual fuck is wrong with you? How dare you to steal a wage doll from Wasabi's toy world while paying it for Alice? Shoplifting is a very, very serious crime, and you had no reason to steal it from the toy store at all. You should have checked your money before you left the house so that you would have enough money to buy the doll, but instead, you chose one of the worst options and shoplifted. We did not raise you to do these types of things at all.
Now your sister won't be able to play with her new wage toy for the next 2 weeks thanks to you. You are such a horrible son of ours. And since you decide to steal from a toy store...
Hey Kate, remember when we visited Kenward in jail after he shoplifted from Wasabi's toy world over buying Alice a wage doll since we didn't get her one beforehand?
Yes honey, I think I do remember that.
I did too.
Well, looking back at it, I feel like we took him a bit too far along with the VCPD officers who nearly rammed him over with a police car, making him experience multiple injuries and took him straight to jail instead of taking him to a hospital to physically treat his injuries that he sustained from the crash.
To be honest, I have to agree with you on that. Kenward may still be a troublemaker in our family, and I know we love and care about him a lot despite his troublemaking ways, but he truly didn't deserve any of this in the first place to begin with. In fact, what we did was similar to how Eloise's parents and Mrs. Ramirez confronted Eloise when they visited her in jail for letting a dangerous bear inside of her school back in June. But luckily that's taken care of now since they all apologized to her for their accidental wrongdoing.
I agree with you Mom. I was also being harsh on my brother like you two did, in which I'll make a confession to that as well. This is entirely our fault for disciplining Kenward the unthinkable way when troublemakers like him are meant to be treated fairly and not bad at all costs. In other words, most people including us and Kenward share the same blood as human beings despite whether or not they are scarred or traumatized permanently.
I think we need to owe Kenward a sincere apology for what we did back in September, because what we did could have gotten us in serious trouble by the law, as it counts as being harsh by their own children thinking that they're abusing someone when in general they aren't, resulting as a crime of child abuse. What do you guys say?
I think that's a great idea. We should apologize to Kenward for doing all of it to him, and we also need to get in contact with the VCPD officers because they were also responsible for nearly killing Kenward with their police car whilst he was trying to get away from them after shoplifting from Wasabi's toy world, causing them to be reprimanded by the chief for several weeks because of that.
I'd say it's a good idea too.
Well then, let's go ahead and do our thing. I'll dial the VCPD to tell them about what happened to Kenward since we visited him in jail, and to meet us at the Viant City Park for our confession. Kenward's still at school right now, and we won't be able to do it until he leaves from school today, so we have plenty of time to do this before it gets too late.
I agree with you on that one.
So do I.
Perfect. Let's go ahead and call the VCPD to tell them all about what happened.
Ouch 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 ouch. Oh, my God. That hurts really bad. What the hell was that for?
We warned you. Lay completely flat on the ground right now.
Kenward Perkins, I'm arresting you under the suspicion of theft, shoplifting, and attempting to escape from law enforcement. You do not have to say anything, but it may harm your defense when questioned, on which you will later rely on in court. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one will be appointed for you.
Please guys. I'm so sorry for stealing that wage doll. I promise I'll return it at the store. Don't arrest me, I'm begging you.
Too freaking bad, Kenward. You should have thought about everything. Hey guys, Remember the time when we ran Kenward over with our police car after shoplifting from Wasabi's Toy World and took him to jail in severe constant pain instead of the hospital to get him treated with his injuries that he sustained, causing us to be reprimanded by the chief for several weeks because of it?
Yeah, I do remember that.
So did I.
Well, from our point of view, we might have taken Kenward way too far and nearly got him killed because of us. He may be a troublemaker in Beyond City, but he didn't deserve any of it whatsoever. People share the same blood as human beings, despite whether or not they're treated good or bad.
I think you're right about that, Ashley. We honestly didn't know what we were thinking at first. Leaving Kenward in serious pain and treating him harshly didn't seem to go pretty well than you'd expect. And now we got reprimanded by the chief for a couple of weeks because of what happened. But luckily we got reinstated as officers once again since we apologized to the chief for what we've done.
Honestly, I think we all need to apologize to Kenward for what we did to him along with his parents and his sister Alice. What we've done was very wrong, and had we literally killed Kenward, we would have got fired and in big trouble for that. Troublemakers like him are meant to be treated properly with fair respect at all times despite their troublemaking ways instead of being treated poorly with disrespect. What do you guys say? Do you think we should apologize to Kenward along with his family for what we've done to him a few months ago?
Yeah. I'd say it's a great idea to do that. We were the ones who were responsible for nearly killing Kenward and not taking him to the hospital to get his injuries treated. And his family is also responsible for being so harsh on him as well. So it's about time we get this all settled once and for all by making our sincere confessions to him. And hopefully he'll have a 50 to 100% chance of forgiving us for our accidental wrongdoing.
I couldn't agree more, James. We all make mistakes sometimes, and this is obviously something that we have to get used to the most, as mistakes are always proof that you're at least trying. If that wasn't for Kenward trying to shoplift from Wasabi's Toy World without even paying for the doll in the very first place, then this never would have happened.
Most certainly indeed. Well then, what are we waiting for? Let's go ahead and... Oh, looks like I'm getting a phone call from Kate Perkins, who is Kenward's mother. Give me a minute as I make this quick phone call.
All right.
Hello?
Hello, Officer Ashley. This is Kate Perkins speaking.
Howdy, Kate. How are you doing so far?
I'm doing pretty great. What about you?
I'm doing fine, thanks for asking.
It's my pleasure. So anyways, I've called to tell you about what we all did to our son Kenward ever since we visited him in jail after shoplifting from Wasabi's Toy World, and we are planning on going to the Beyond City Park later today after Kenward gets here from school to make our confession to him for what we've done a few months ago, and I was wondering if you and the other officers can chip in with us as we apologize to our son if you aren't busy or anything particular?
Oh, you called to tell us that? Oh my, I feel so sorry for you and the others. But you're not the only one that was being harsh on Kenward. Me, James and Daniel are also responsible for being harsh on him, as well as nearly killing him with our police car and taking him straight to jail to be fully disciplined instead of taking him to the hospital to get his injuries that he sustained treated in the process of the crash. What we've done was a very bad thing to do, as we could have gotten fired and in serious trouble for doing that sort of heinous act, but luckily we didn't. But with all of that aside from what you said, sure. We'll be glad to help you and the others apologize to Kenward for our accidental wrongdoing. We all make mistakes sometimes, but two wrongs don't make a full right, and the moral of the story, revenge is not always the answer. Mistakes are always proof that you're at least trying, and we learn from them at all costs without even forgetting that it never happened when it did.
That's great to hear. Hope it turns out well once we do make our confession to Kenward. Well, anyways, I have to get going now to get everything ready for when Kenward gets here from school. I'll see you guys at the park later today so we can get this confession underway.
All right then, Mrs. Perkins, have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you later at the park for our sincere apology to Kenward.
Thanks, and you too. Bye.
Bye.
So what did she say?
She told us to meet her and the rest at the Beyond City Park later today for our confession with Kenward for everything we've done to him, and she also wants us to join them as well as we make our sincere apology to him for our accidental wrongdoing that we made.
I think that sounds fair enough to join them for an apology. After all, Kenward might have a slight chance for forgiving us for our huge mistake, because like you said earlier, everyone makes mistakes sometimes and no one's perfect.
That's exactly right. Hope things don't turn out to be extremely difficult as we do this, because who knows exactly what'll happen if it does get difficult and worse.
I couldn't agree more. But for now, let's go and grab something to eat from the lounge because we are so hungry after several hours of arresting people who commit several crimes around the city and filling out a bunch of paperwork.
Sounds good. Let's all get something to eat to refill our bodies.
You know, Kate, as much as we love Kenward despite being a troublemaker, we sort of regret doing all of this mess towards him in the first place. Someday he'll have to learn one way or another for the trouble he commits, because consequences are the most lethal thing he has to deal with if he does some bad stuff that he shouldn't do at all.
I agree. What we did was very uncalled for, and the least we could have done was take Kenward to the hospital to treat his injuries properly since the 3 officers failed to do so after ramming him over with a police car instead of just drastically being so harsh and disrespectful towards him, all whilst in physical pain. But luckily the chief and that other officer managed to do all of that, and we felt really bad for what we've done to our son recently. Don't you agree with me on that one?
I most certainly agree with you on that one.
And so do I. I was also being so harsh on my big brother for literally no reason as you guys, so you both are definitely not the only ones. Owning up our confessions like we're doing now is way better than just leaving someone in severe pain and being yelled at very harshly by them under any circumstances.
You got that right, honey. Which is why we're meeting up with the officers at the park to make up for what we did to Kenward a few months ago. And we left a note in the living room for Kenward to read once he gets home from school so he'll know that we're at the park waiting for him. Speaking of which, did you get a text message from one of the officers yet, Dave?
I'm glad you asked that, because I just got a text message from them. I'll read it and see what they said. Okay, so it turns out that Officer Ashley said that they're here at the park sitting on the bench waiting for us there. So I'm assuming that they arrived there before us to be exact.
Great. Just tell them that we'll be there in a few minutes. Hopefully they won't wait very long for us to get there.
Alright. Alright, so Ashley just replied and she said that they'll wait until we get to the park, which shouldn't be too difficult at all.
That's good to know. Well, we're almost there at the park, so let's just keep driving until we get there, which is like 3 minutes in total.
Why hello guys. Glad that you all came to meet us for something very important regarding Kenward.
It's our pleasure. So, are you all ready to get this out of the way? We need to owe Kenward a sincere apology for everything we've done to him after shoplifting from Wasabi's Toy World a few months ago, because what we did was totally wrong and we regret doing all of this mess towards him in the first place.
Of course we are. We were the ones who were responsible for nearly murdering Kenward with our police car and taking him straight to jail instead of taking him to the hospital to get his injuries treated properly, in which it's most likely me to be honest, as I was the one who was driving at a full speed and rammed him over, nearly killing him in the process.
That's exactly true. And had we killed Kenward, we would have been fired from the police department and in major trouble for this. He didn't deserve any of this after all. And we felt kinda bad for him after what he had to go through. But he needs to know that committing crimes like he did with the counts of theft, shoplifting and attempting to escape from law enforcement is against the law, as it counts against his criminal records for the crimes he commit. We honestly didn't know what we were thinking at first until the chief told us that we are literally murdering someone to their own death.
I agree with you on that, Daniel. And you're not the only ones who are responsible for doing this to Kenward. We are also responsible for being harsh and disrespectful towards him without even taking care of his injuries that he sustained from the crash and leaving him in major and severe pain as well.
Yeah, and just like Mom and Dad, I was also responsible for being mean to my big brother too. If I shouldn't have asked Mom to force Kenward to go to Wasabi's toy world and get the wage doll that I asked for, since she was my favorite ugly doll's character that I always wanted as a doll, and instead wait until all of our bills are paid, then we wouldn't be in this mess like we are now. It's been a terrible day for all of us, including you three, as a result after what we did to Kenward a few months back.
I certainly agree with you on that, Alice.
And the same goes for us too. Well, what are we standing around here for? Let's go wait for Kenward to arrive here so we can owe up for everything we did to him. School should be dismissed pretty soon, so hopefully it would be worth the full wait for the 6 of us.
Okay.
Man, I can't believe that we got severely hurt by Mr. Morris during our class period. Can you believe it already, guys?
I know. Mr. Morris literally slapped me in the face all because I wasn't paying attention while he was teaching.
He also tried to yank my hair off for the dumbest reason, which almost caused my head to hurt really bad. And not just that, he also threw one of his coffee cups at my face as a result of being disrespectful to him.
Then he literally snatched the gum that I had in my mouth out of it and tried to pull my tongue off, which caused my whole mouth to bleed and my tongue to have a severe bruise on it.
And the worst part about it is that he threw a basketball at my nose, all because I asked him to go to the bathroom when he said no a bunch of times, which caused my nose to bleed really bad. And he also tried to injure my ankle by stepping on it really hard like he's some sort of king or something when he's not. Like seriously, teachers never usually act out towards their students like this lately, unlike Mr. Morris himself.
Exactly. Now because of him, we had to go to the nurse's office to get us treated fairly with medical assistance. I just wish that he was fired from this school and they hired another honors English 4 teacher who isn't as smart as he is. Man, what a rough day we had with Mr. Morris and his unusual teaching. But hey, at least it's dismissal time now and we got through him despite some major issues we had.
I couldn't agree more. Without Mr. Morris teaching, this school year would have gone smoothly as we expected to be.
You got that right, Eloise. But for now, let's not worry about him and let's focus on finishing this school year, because the first semester is about to be over with pretty soon, and soon we will be entering our second semester with our same teachers that we have, and after that it will be the graduation day before you know it.
Oh crap. We better hurry up and get to the bus stop so we won't miss our ride home.
That's a good idea. Let's all go so we won't miss the bus.
Looks like I got a text message from my mom. I wonder what it's about. I'll read it and see what she said. A note? She left me a note for me to read when I come home. It better be something good when I read it as soon as I get home. Alright, I'm finally home. And it turns out that my parents and Alice left the house, meaning that they left me a note for me to read, as stated in the text message I received from my mom. I'll read it and see what it says. Dear Kenward, me, your father, and Alice are at the Vyon City Park waiting for you so we can owe an apology for what we did to you a few months ago. And we also brought the 3 VCPD officers over to apologize to you as well for nearly trying to kill you with their police car. Meet us there at the park as soon as you can so we can make our confession before it's too late. Love, Mom. Huh? They're over at the Vyon City Park waiting for me there so they can owe me an apology for what they did to me a few months ago along with the VCPD officers? Oh God, this ain't good at all. I better get to the park quickly so they won't be worried about me not coming at all, and fast. Excuse me, sir. Do you happen to know where my parents, Alice, and the VCPD officers are in this park?
From what I can tell, I'm not entirely sure. The last time I saw them was when they entered the park, so you're just gonna have to explore around until you either find them or hear their voices from far away. But don't worry, it won't be that difficult unless you try. I guarantee it.
Okay, that's all I need to know. Thanks for the help. Okay, now that I've entered the park, I need to think of some clues of where they might be at. I know they're not in the bathrooms that I just recently passed by, so technically there has got to be a perfect way to reach out to them so I can hear them owning their confessions to me. Where could they possibly be at the moment?
Kenward, over here. We have something urgent to tell you.
Wait a minute, did I just hear a voice coming from somewhere? It sounds like my mom is calling me or something. Wait, is that them over there?
Kenward, we are over here sitting at the bench behind the bushes. We want to apologize to you for what happened a few months ago.
I think that's them. Yeah, I think I found them. Let's go up to them so I can hear their apologies for all of the bad things they did to me.
There you are, Kenward. We were almost worried about you this whole time.
Well, at least I'm finally here now. So, you brought me over here for something important?
Of course we did. We want to owe up and apologize to you for what happened after you shoplifted from Wasabi's Toy World back in September, which is a few months ago.
And we also need to apologize to you as well for nearly trying to kill you and not taking good care of your injuries, as I was the only one who was responsible for doing all of this besides Ashley and Daniel. But this time we're owning up our apologies sincerely enough because the last one didn't turn out to be so good due to you denying our apologies when we visited you in jail.
What? An apology? You all wanted to apologize to me for everything you've done to me?
Exactly. We want to do that because what we did was very wrong and disrespectful, as we could have gotten in massive trouble had we recently killed you and became very harsh on you and nearly got you traumatized permanently.
Yeah, what Ashley just said. The least we could have done is treat you very well instead of leaving you in severe pain forever. We know that you're a troublemaker in Vyon City, but you truly didn't deserve any of this whatsoever.
I agree. But we need to do this somewhere quiet in this park, as this is not the perfect spot to do it since this area is public. Come and follow so we can owe our apologies to you.
Okay then, I guess.
Okay, Kenward, now allow us to confess ourselves to what happened a few months ago. Kenward, we would like to say that we are terribly sorry for becoming so harsh on you when we visited you in jail after shoplifting from Wasabi's Toy World. What we've done was a very wrongful thing to do, and we regret doing all of this to you in the first place to begin with, since you didn't deserve any of this whatsoever.
Your mother is right, honey. We know that you are a troublemaker in our family and around the city, but you should never steal that wage doll that your sister asked for and shoplift from that store whilst trying to get away from law enforcement. The least you could have done was either check to see if you have enough money in your wallet that you keep on stealing from us without permission before you left the house, or tell us to wait until we got all of our bills paid so we can inform Alice about getting her doll that she always wanted. Then we wouldn't be in this mess like we're now.
I agree with Mommy and Daddy. And Kenward, I'm also responsible for asking you to go out to Wasabi's Toy World to get my wage doll that I've always wanted since she was my favorite Ugly Dolls character, and for being very harsh on you since we visited you in jail while you were in severe pain because of those 3 officers that tried to kill you to death. So I would like to say I'm sorry for being very disrespectful to you as a sister as well. I love you so much, and so does Mommy and Daddy, and we will always care about you forever despite your troublemaking.
And Kenward, we, as VCPD officers, are deeply sorry for nearly trying to kill you by ramming you over with our police car, refusing to take you to the hospital to get your injuries treated by the doctors, and for getting your parents to harshly discipline you and nearly getting you traumatized permanently. The way we treated you a few months ago was even worse than when Eloise's parents and Mrs. Ramirez confronted Eloise after letting a dangerous bear inside of her school back in June.
I agree with Ashley. And besides her and Daniel, I'm the main cause of doing all of this to you, as I was the one who was driving the police car at a full force speed and rammed you and your bike over with our car, causing to experience multiple bruises and injuries after your fall to the ground, so I should be the one to blame for doing all of this. As such, I'm sorry for the things I've done to you, and I regret doing all of this to you in the first place.
I fully agree with James on that one. Now because of this, we got reprimanded by the chief for several weeks due to the incident of us nearly murdering you to death. But luckily we learned our big lesson about doing all of this and got reinstated as officers once again. And had we literally killed you, we would have gotten in massive trouble and fired from the police department as a result of this incident. But you should clearly know that committing crimes like you just did, such as theft, shoplifting, and attempting to escape from law enforcement, counts against your criminal record, and you have to do the time to reflect back on everything you did in jail. And this also applies to other people who commit dangerous crimes as well. And just remember this: if you can't do the time, then don't do the crime. It's as simple as that.
I agree with everyone on that. Look honey, we really love and care about you so much despite being a troublemaker in our family, but you should not have stolen that set doll from the toy store in the first place, as it counts as a count of theft, shoplifting, and attempting to get away from law enforcement like Officer Daniel stated, and you could have got arrested and sent to full-time life in jail because of it. We want you to continue being a good son towards us, because we don't want you to end up being the most terrible person and considered as the most wanted criminal in the city. We all make mistakes sometimes, but this is something that we should always learn and never forget at all times, as mistakes are always proof that you're at least trying, no matter how good or bad the situation is and gets. And moral of the story: revenge is not always the answer, and 2 wrongs certainly don't make a full right. And whenever we make mistakes, we learn from them very clearly and move on, and it's that very easy to do.
Now, will you accept our apology and forgive us for everything we've done to you a few months ago? If you don't want to do it or deny our apologies, that's totally fine by us. Just take your time and think about it, and we won't rush you or anything.
You know what? After everything you did to me a few months ago and finally owed up to your sincere confessions, I guess I'll take the advice and accept all of your apologies for this.
Hold on. You're being serious with us?
I'm being dead serious with you guys. I accept all of your apologies for this.
I don't believe it. Wow, Kenward. I knew you were gonna accept our apologies for our accidental wrongdoing that we made, and you just did. We're very proud of you for this, son. We really are.
Your father is right. We are also very proud of you for making the right decision by accepting our apologies as well. The first time we apologized to you was a complete disaster, as you permanently denied our apologies after what we did to you, but now the second time turned out to be a huge success since we made a sincere apology to you perfectly. While you still need to take the time to think about what happened a few months ago, you also have to make up for the recent crimes that you committed in this city, because disobeying what the law has given you can get you nowhere but trouble.
And honestly, we may have nearly murdered you after what you did at Wasabi's Toy World and not taken you to the hospital to treat your injuries that you sustained. But at least we arrested you for doing that, which is the right thing to do once you commit a crime that violates the law enforcement guidelines. We don't want to have to do this to you again, but we have to do our thing if you cause mischief around the city that involves committing a very serious crime.
James has an excellent point. You truly did the right thing by accepting all of our apologies as a result of this incident that occurred a few months ago. We all make mistakes, but we learn from them eventually and move on with our lives of becoming a bright and smarter person in the near future. Just remember that mistakes are always proof that you're at least trying. No matter how good or bad it gets, revenge is not always the right answer, and two wrongs don't make a full right, and you're all good and set to go in no time.
I agree with Officer Daniel. And Kenward, my big bro, I would never in my life go way berserk and become very harsh on you at all. I was a bit too carried away and got extremely mad at you ever since we visited you in jail to confront you for shoplifting from Wasabi's Toy World. So from this day forward, I will never be harsh on you for the things you do wrong, and I will always love and care about you so much despite being a troublemaker in this family. Just like what our man said, whatever happens in the dark always comes to light.
Your sister is right, Kenward. We're so proud of you for doing the right thing by accepting our apologies for our huge mistake that we made. We all love you so much, honey, and we will always take care of you no matter what despite your ways as a troublemaker.
That's great to know. And I love you guys too. I'm glad that I was able to accept all of your apologies for everything you've done to me a few months ago. And from this day forward, I will always check to see if I have enough of my measly allowance in my wallet before leaving the house to get something from my sister, and I will never shoplift from any store including Wasabi's Toy World ever again.
Now that's the spirit right there, sweetie. Just do your own part for us and we will always do our own part for you in no time.
Say, how about we go to Wage's Diner as a celebration for apologizing to Kenward for what we did and getting our apologies accepted? Maybe that should help us keep our minds off of all of this mess that we made.
Yeah. I think that's a great idea. What do you guys say? Wage's Diner for all of us?
I'm totally down for a bite of a meal at Wage's Diner.
Same with me.
The same goes for me as usual.
Same with me too.
And the same goes for me. We all are in the mood for lunch anyways.
Great. Then let's all head over to Wage's Diner before the restaurant gets fully packed with customers.
Man, this pizza sure does smell delicious. Don't you agree?
Most certainly, honey. We truly can't wait to take a bite out of this tasty flavored pizza that the staff at Wage's Diner made.
Neither can we. Let's all start eating now before it gets cold. We don't want to have a cold pizza after all, do we?
Of course we don't. We like warm food better than cold food because it's very healthy for all of us once we eat it.
That's true. Now let's not chit-chat any longer and let's start eating now before the pizza gets cold.
Okay.